On January 1st, 1961, was a day that changed professional football forever, when the American Football League, better known as the AFL, put together their very first championship game, featuring the Houston Oilers and the Los Angeles Chargers. After a rough and tumble first year where the AFL seeked to compete with the powerhouse NFL that had been around for over 40 years, the AFL put all it together for this one day with drama, game-changing plays, and a quarterback who became a legend. And this one game helped lead to changes in pro football that we all love to this day. We're going to dive into all of that today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide as you daily learn more about sports history. And today's trivia question to listen out for is, what Heisman Trophy winner did the Houston Oilers sign despite the fact that he had already signed with the LA Rams of the NFL? Now, we covered the AFL briefly in a previous episode, and we'll put that in a link in the description below. But there's so much more that the AFL can give us, and so many more episodes we will cover on the AFL. As this was, in 1960 was their first season where they had 8 franchises. A lot you may know, as all these franchises are still around in the league today. The Buffalo Bills, the Houston Oilers, which are now the Tennessee Titans, the Titans of New York, which are now the New York Jets, and the Boston Patriots, who were in the Eastern Division. In the Western Division was the Los Angeles Chargers, the Denver Broncos, the Dallas Texans, which became the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Oakland Raiders. And each of these teams would play a home or away game against the other teams in the league, giving them a 14-game schedule, which was 2 more games than the NFL would play that same season, putting pressure on the NFL, which they did so throughout the years. Now, one thing that the AFL did and continued to do was try to sign high-profile players to make their league seem legitimate. They had a lot of players that were maybe off the streets or lower level in college or were cut by teams in the NFL, but they made big splashes where they could. And the Houston Oilers did that when they signed Heisman Trophy winner Billy Cannon, who was a halfback from LSU, to a contract of $33,000 for 3 years. Now, $33,000 is roughly over $350,000 today. And this all happened despite the fact that he had already signed with the Los Angeles Rams, but chose to go with the Oilers as they were providing more money, and which was something very common that happened for big-name stars coming into the league. And the Oilers were able to also sign George Blanda, who had played for the Bears previously, but the Bears were looking for a new quarterback and said he could either be the place kicker or he could retire, which he did. And he went on to the Houston Oilers to help lead them to some historic seasons. And he would start 11 of the 14 games at quarterback and as their kicker, helping lead them to a 10-4 record, where they started out strong, winning 5 of their first 6 games, including a 38-28 victory versus the Chargers in their second week. Although the Chargers would come back in week 9 and win 24-21, and they would finish 3 games above the Titans of New York, giving them a 10-4 record and a spot in the AFL Championship Game. With the league's best total offense, and the AFL did their championship just like Major League Baseball and the NFL. Whoever won their division would get the chance to play for the championship. There would be no real playoff. It's just the season was the playoff, and whoever led the way through the season got the chance to play for the championship. And in the Western Division, the LA Chargers actually started out shaky, but they had great coaching. And Sid Gilmore, who went on to be in the Hall of Fame for both college and pro football, and they also included a coaching staff of Al Davis and Chuck Noll, a Hall of Fame owner and a Hall of Fame coach. And they were led by Jack Kemp, who was a backup in the NFL for multiple teams. But he was able to put together a 3,000-yard season to help lead them to a 10-4 record. And they were also led by their running back, Paul Lowe, who was working in the mailroom of the Chargers owner, Baron Hilton. And he tried out for the team and made it, and had over 800 yards that season for the team. And despite their slow start, starting at 500 in the first 6 games, they went on a tear in the last 9 games, ending in a 10-4 record, beating the Broncos by 2 games to win the Western Division, ranking 3rd in offense throughout the year, meaning many thought this would be an offensive showdown in the championship game against 2 of the best offenses in the league. Now, the AFL established that they were going to alternate who held the championship. On the even years, it was going to be the Western Division winner. On the odd years, it would be the Eastern Division winner. But the problem was that the Chargers played at the LA Coliseum, which was over 100,000 seats, and they only averaged 10,000 fans per game. And it was the Western's year to host, and they were worried because ABC was hosting the game. If they had poor ticket sales and it looked like they didn't have anyone in the fans, that ABC would pull their $1 million TV contract, which helped sustain the league. So they flipped it and said that the Eastern Division would host the even years, which meant they would play at the Giuseppe Stadium in Houston, which was the home of the Houston University Cougars and only had capacity for 32,000 fans, which meant it would look like a fuller stadium and look better on TV. And coming into the game, the Oilers were actually favored by 6.5 points. One, because they were the home team, and also they had the best offense in the league behind a established quarterback in George Blanda. Now the Chargers took the lead 6-0 off of 2 field goals, and the first quarter would end with that score. And in the second quarter, Houston got going as they scored their first touchdown from George Blanda to Dave Smith, a 17-yard pass. But the Chargers would take the lead back with another field goal, but the Oilers would finish the half with a field goal from George Blanda, giving them a 10-9 score going into halftime with the Oilers winning. And coming into the third quarter, George Blanda would throw another touchdown, giving them an 8-point lead. But Paul Lowe, that mailroom worker for the Chargers, scored a 2-yard rushing touchdown, putting the game within a touchdown as they were now down, making it a 1-score game, 17-16 game. But that high-priced new free agent, Billy Cannon, caught an 88-yard pass, which was a short pass and which was a short catch and run that went for 88 yards and gave the Oilers an 8-point lead when the Chargers took the ball for a chance to tie the game. Now they could tie the game, which is something they couldn't do in the NFL, as the NFL did not have the 2-point conversion yet, but the AFL did. And despite the fact that the Chargers were down by 8, if they scored a touchdown and got a 2-point conversion, they could send the game into overtime. But sadly, that wouldn't happen, and they would go 4-and-out and lose and give the ball back to the Oilers, who would win the very first AFL Championship, being led by George Blanda, who threw 3 touchdowns in this game, cementing his legacy in pro football. And both these teams had a lot of success the following year, as they would meet again in the AFL Championship game, this time played in San Diego, where the Chargers had moved to, but it was a lot of the same, as the Oilers again won 10-3. But sadly, both these teams, despite moving to the NFL, have never won a Super Bowl. Both have been, but never won the game. Even though they've had a lot of success in the AFL and NFL, that championship in the NFL has still eluded them, but one day, I know it will happen. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out the World of Football podcast, hosted by Adam and Randy, where they take you through all of American-style pro football, which includes the NFL, Arena League, college football, and even the CFL. Check them out so you can know all about what is going on in pro football around the world. And we'll put a link in the description below for you to check them out. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it on your social medias. Hit the little triangle share button and post it to your social media so that your friends and family can come check out all the sports history you are learning as well. And you guys can talk about it and know what is your favorite sports moment. And did you catch the answer to today's trivia question? What Heisman Trophy winner did the Houston Oilers sign, despite the fact that he had already signed with the LA Rams? And the answer is LSU running back Billy Cannon signed a $33,000-year contract with the Houston Oilers, which today is worth about $350,000.